Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA front office show. Happy trade deadline week. It's here. Thursday. Trade deadline comes up 3 p.m. Eastern time. That means we've got plenty to dive into today. But first, Keith, the end of our last show on Friday, our front office Friday show live, we teased a little surprise for this week. I think we should probably go ahead and reveal that, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be fair in case anybody was still with us at the end, which I know a lot of people were with the live, and a couple of people did ask, like, what is going on? And some guests, like, oh, they're turning the show subscription only and all that. We're
No.
not. Front office show is staying free to all you. We're just doing a little add on content. The two of us are starting a little writing project together, which I'm really excited about. So, you want to tell people more about it?
Sure, yeah. What we've got going on is something called the Basketball Bulletin, and I'm going to drop the link in the description down below. Keith and I are putting together this Substack where we can put together our thoughts on the NBA. Keith is going to be putting in some game notes, giving you details on every single game that he's watching, all the stuff that's going on. I'm going to be doing some editorial stuff on there, writing about a lot of different things around the NBA, some trade talks. Of course, there'll be some Lakers stuff that gets put in there as well. But the bottom line is that this is a way that if you want to, if you like our content and you want to support us directly, this is going to be the way to do that. Is to go check out this Substack, and we're making it as cheap as Substack allows us because we want to make sure that this gets out to as many people as we can. There will be some free posts of course, as well, some members only posts in addition to that for subscribers. But I'm really excited about this. This is how I started was with writing, getting into this business. So I'm excited to embark on this endeavor with you, Keith. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And again, Keith came up with the name. I love it. I love alliteration. The Basketball Bulletin. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm super fired up to do this. I'm for anybody who may be wondering, I'm still going to be writing at Spot Track. So you won't see a lot of detailed cap analysis from me there. That'll all still live over on Spot Track. But this is a place for me to put other things out there. Maybe some of the things that I've been putting on Twitter and the like that quite frankly, it's time to try to, if we can, profit off that just a little bit because every little bit helps where I can say this with all confidence, neither one of us is living in that 20 room mansion just yet. So
Sure.
well, when we are, I'll go back to giving out a lot more free stuff, but we're just trying to make stuff work, and we both wanted a place where we could put other basketball thoughts. So if I have something that's not necessarily cap related that I wanted to get into, like I'd see a really cool set or a really great play, I wanted to be able to break that down somewhere other than just throwing it on Twitter, where it just, quite frankly, a lot of things get lost on there now. They don't like to share some videos, and some stuff just gets completely missed, or we all know it gets shouted down by trolls and turns into a mess. So we're looking forward to people who like our content, who want to interact with us. We'll do that, and we're gonna have some other cool stuff that, trust me, we're very much working all this out
Hmm.
here, but we're gonna figure some stuff out. We'll probably do maybe some subscriber only things where we maybe do a chat or something, and get with some people and the like, and that'll be a lot of fun. So I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with this, and really get into just doing some stuff that is different from where you can
There
find
we
our
go.
other content other places. There it is in the background. I love it. Looks
There it
good.
is. There's the logo for the Substack. Again, you guys, I'm going to put the link in the description down below. Oh, they threw off all my coloring on my camera for a moment there, but um, you guys
Oh
can
yeah,
check
there it
out.
is. I'm seeing it now too.
There we go.
Yeah,
It's
you're
because
super
I'm wearing
orange
this
and like,
yellow. It's this
yeah,
Lakers. I
there
my
you go.
I think my camera must be made out of Boston or something like that because the
There it is.
Lakers gold tends to throw things off. But there it is. There's the logo for it. We're gonna drop the link in the description down below here on YouTube. So again, great way to directly support Keith and I if you like our content. So guys, make sure you check that out. And I'm really excited for this, Keith. This is going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully everybody goes and gives it a look.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything support we can get from y'all, y'all have been so good supporting the show here. And we promise, nothing will change with front office show. It's
Yes.
going to continue to be as often as we do it, and it'll continue to be free for you to enjoy, and everything else. We'll continue with the Friday live shows this week special. So might as well, since we're in promotion mode, where this week we likely will not do front office Friday because it's going to be replaced by a very long trade deadline show
Hmm.
the day before. So we're going to hammer out the details of that probably later today. So by the tomorrow's episode that comes out on Tuesday, we'll be able to tell you what time we're getting together for that, and that'll be like a extra long, extra large, hopefully reacting to a ton of stuff live front office Friday show. We'll have a lot of fun with that. We're really looking forward to it. I think that'll be either our third or fourth one that we've
Hmm.
done, and we've had a blast the last couple years because it's kind of, it almost replaces like the what Twitter used to be, where it's like we find out about something, but we all find out about it together while we're watching, and then we go crazy. And sometimes we're in the middle of breaking something down, and you guys in
More
the
news
chat are
breaks.
like telling us like, "Hey, this is going on. Go to Woj's page or whatever." So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun with that. So we'll be live ahead of the actual deadline itself, which is 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday the 8th, and then after a little bit after it as well, just breaking stuff down, and we go live a little bit after lunchtime usually because if anything happened in the morning, we'll catch up with it. And quite frankly, I know I don't. As much as I love to hear myself talk, I don't have the stamina to talk for like 8 hours straight. So we'll get into it in the afternoon.
We try to save that for draft night. But yes,
Yeah.
that's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully, you join us live on Thursday for the trade deadline. Going to be a lot of fun. Busy week around the NBA, obviously. Okay, let's get into some of our news here, and let's start with this. Let's get the bad news out of the way first. Joel Embiid's injury and Zach LaVine's injury. Zach LaVine, we know, is having surgery on his foot. He's done for the season. That's it. I don't know if it was the Pistons trade rumors that scared him off, and he said, "Quick, somebody operate on this foot," or what. But Zach LaVine is done for the season, and then Joel Embiid, we're still not certain that he's done for the season. But Keith, everything I've looked up about this injury, this meniscus injury, if you elect to go the surgery route, which long term is the better choice, but if you elect to go the surgery route, the recovery timeline to me doesn't suggest that he's back this season. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he is back this season.
Yeah, so we'll start with the Levine one because that's just the easier one because we know more about it. Foot injury. I've had some people suggest to me now he may have gone from a slightly positive to a neutral contract to now this might be one where it's considered bad, and the Bulls are going to have to give up something to get off of it. If you're the Bulls, you don't do that now. You
Mm-mm.
just let it play out. You readdress in the summertime. Yeah, sure. If Detroit's like, hey, we still want him and we think we can get him at a reduced cost right now and have him healthy, ready to go for the start of next season, maybe that does happen. We saw a trade made last week where two guys aren't going to play this year between the Rockets and Grizzlies for Steven Adams and Victor Oladipo. So teams can't trade. It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Every single year we get this, and
But
I know
wait, he's
exactly where it
injured.
comes from. It's
Yep.
because 2K doesn't let you trade injured players, or at
Mm.
least it didn't for a long time. And I know that's where it comes from because I've had people say them because I've asked. I'm like, where do people get this from? They're like, oh, because in 2K you can't do it. You could trade injured players. Happens all the time. Just happened, like I said. So maybe Detroit would probably be the one. They seem to have the most interest in Levine. Anyway, maybe they're like, hey, the cost is less now. Let's go get him, and we'll have him ready to go for the start of next season. But we'll see. My guess is now this is probably one where let's regroup in July and we'll talk about it then. But they said 6 to 8, was it 6 to 8 months on Levine?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're talking right around the start of the next season. If
Right.
we're kind of, even if we split the difference on that, 7 months from now, that's 8 months from now, that's right around media day, started training camp. So I'd hope, all right, get him ready, get him in training camp. He's ready to go for the start of the season. Embiid, so unfortunately, I know way more about this than I ever thought I would because of Rob Williams a couple years ago.
Oh,
He
yeah.
went through the same thing as Embiid with the torn meniscus. And there's kind of three options. There is the rest and rehab option, which is no surgery. You let it rest, you see if it calms down for a little bit, and then can you play through it? Embiid has already done that once in his career in the other knee. He played through it after taking some time off. Then there is the kind of trim option, which is they
Mm-hmm.
basically go in, they cut a chunk of the meniscus tear off, and that is a shorter return time. You come back in a span of generally a month or two. You can get back. It's about 6 to 8 weeks. Then the other option is the full repair option, and the repair option is measured in months. At that point, you're talking, probably 2, 3, 4 months, and very likely, I would imagine that would be end of the season stuff for Embiid, unless we're deep in a playoff run and he could return for something like that. So all that said, he's definitely having surgery. And my guess is from because it's been very vague, right? We haven't heard yet
Mm-hmm.
what's going on other than he is going to go the surgical route. So that probably tells us, all right, the rest rehab option isn't viable. So he's got to have surgery. And one of the things I'm guessing is much like it was with Rob Williams, it was we think it will be this, but we won't really know till we open up the knee, we get in there and look at it. Once we do that, then we'll have a better idea what we're facing, and then we'll know, of course, what procedure we did and much more of a timeline. So I have not seen anybody definitively report on the surgery is X date. Um, but it's probably, I would assume, going to be here in the next day or two. And then once that happens, then we'll get a real sense, probably shortly after the surgery, of how long Joel Embiid's going to be out. But it's going to be a while at least. Let's say that much.
Yeah, and that's obviously if he is out, that is a huge blow to the 76. I mean, essentially it removes the 76ers from the title race. I don't
Yeah.
know how much it will impact what they do at the trade deadline. I would assume that they would. The last I saw, and I don't recall who had at this point of year, everybody's got something, and it's like coming
Yeah.
from a million places. But last I saw, they were still behaving as though he will be around for the postseason, and
Yep.
making having trade conversations as though he's going to be there, and they're going to really make this push. I hope that's accurate because you never want to see a top talent like that out for the playoffs. But we'll get more details on exactly what his timeline really looks like. And last I saw was he was once they get in there, they'll have a better idea of how long he's really out.
Yeah, that's pretty standard with this type of injury because it can vary. As much as I understand after reading a ton about it a couple years ago with Rob Williams, is there is the whole approach of, yeah, we get in there, we take a look at it, but imaging can only show you so much. Then when we're actually in the surgery, we see it. Now the other thing that happens sometimes is you can go for the either the rest rehab or the trim,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't fix things the way
Right.
it needs to be fixed. We all saw that with Rob Williams. He was not the same guy. Came back. Now his knee injuries that he's out with right now is the other injury, but he did have a subsequent surgery on the same knee. So he had the trim. Then they went in and had to do a full cleanup surgery, and that kept him out for about half of last season or so with the Celtics. And then this year, unfortunately, the injury was to the other knee. And Embiid's a guy he's already had a lot going on. He had back stuff coming into the draft, which caused him to drop, and he didn't drop very far, but drop a little bit. He had foot stuff very early in his career, and he's had now injuries to both knees. So it's getting a little scary of where this could be, and how is this going to impact somebody who is top 2, 3 guy in the league when he's
Yeah.
healthy, if not the very top one player in the league. I mean, that's how dominant he had been for large chunks of this year. So it sucks. And we don't know with Philly, where is this going to go? To your point you were making, they've still got a ton of flexibility to do a lot of stuff. I don't know that it makes sense to go all in, because even if you feel like, all right, hey, he's going to be back in 2 months, that gets him back before the end of the regular season, gets in a couple tune-up games, and we're ready to go for the playoffs. How long is it gonna last for a full playoff run? You know, what else has happened? Well, we'll see with that. So that puts Daryl Morey in just a weird spot. But it was no lock Daryl Morey was going to do anything at this trade deadline major anyway, because
Mm-hmm.
he has kind of been saying, hey, we can do it now, or we can do it this summer. By the end of this summer free agent period, he's going to have done something, because they're going to have to do stuff with just the way their books are lined up. So they remain a very interesting team to watch, and how they how they maybe change their priorities here in the next few days.
All right, let's jump over to a potential trade rumor that Mark Stein had. Grant Williams potentially for Bobby Portis. So you've got the Mavs and the Bucks getting involved. Keith, to me, I go, why would Milwaukee do this, given that Bobby Portis is like their main backup at both the 4 and the 5? He's the guy that steps in should Brook Lopez go down. You're not going to get that same quality out of Grant Williams, very different player. So I'm a little confused on the Milwaukee. I get it from the Dallas side, a little confused on the Milwaukee side. Was that your reaction as well, or am I missing something here?
Yeah, this seems almost like I hate to compare it to this because it's not really how it works in pro sports, but this is like when you're fantasy league and you're like, I'm bored. Hey, want to make a trade
Right.
today? And you kill an afternoon of a work day hashing out a trade through text or the league messaging or whatever, and then you figure it out just because neither one of you has anything else to do. Anybody who's played fantasy sports has probably been in that spot at some point. I just don't get it. Grant Williams, yeah, he can play the 5. Basically, Milwaukee runs a 3 big rotation with Brook Lopez, Giannis Antetokounmpo as the starters at the center and power forward spot, and then
Mhm.
Portis backs both of them up, and then they rotate between the 3 of them. You can do the same thing with Grant Williams. You would do the exact same thing. I'm just not sure how much more you're getting out of it. Like, out of Grant Williams than Bobby Portis. Contracts are fairly similar. Williams runs out 1 year longer than Portis's does, but the money is very, very close. Grant Williams actually makes a little bit more money. So, unless there was something where, yeah, we just don't believe Portis can keep this level of production up, we really like Grant Williams. This would make maybe a little bit more sense if these teams were like conference rivals, because Grant Williams, for anything anybody thinks about him, one thing he has done very well over the years is he defends Giannis as well as
Mhm.
anybody does. And that's not, I'm by no means someone's going to be like, yeah, Grant Williams shuts him down. He doesn't, but he makes him work. He's very good at guarding players like that, but you're not. I don't know. Are you really that worried about meeting the Mavs in the finals that you got to pull Grant Williams away? So unless you're worried somebody else is going to trade for him, I'm not. I'm just not understanding this deal here. Why either side would really want to do this?
Yeah, agreed. I'm a little bit surprised with that as well, but um, we'll see. It's something that's out there. Maybe it is
Yeah,
just out of boredom. Hey, everybody else is
yeah.
talking trades. You want to do something? Yeah. All right, let's get something done.
God, I
Um,
hope we're not running real teams like running fantasy teams, but sometimes I do wonder.
yeah. Well, when you're a billionaire with a capital B, sometimes you get a little bored.
It's
All right.
true.
Let's talk. Not that I would know. Subscribe to our Substack. Jared Vanderbilt. His injury. I should have done this with the downer stuff. Absolutely brutal. I mean, just brutal. Essentially, they just got him back. They just got him back
Yeah,
because he started playing in December. For the Lakers, but he was not Jared Vanderbilt. It was not the same guy. He was nowhere close. And then finally, it was like the last 5 games that he played, it was like, oh, okay, he's back. He's back to being himself. He's back to being healthy. You could see he was not right out there on the court for a couple of months, really. He came back beginning of December. And then it was only the last few games of January that he started looking right, took a funny step against Boston. And it's a midfoot injury. As of this moment, they haven't officially announced he's out for the season, but it sure sounds like that's where this is heading. D'Angelo Russell even tweeted this morning that he has thoughts for his dog Vando. He said, like, clearly this is bad. It's some type of midfoot injury. Again, we don't have anything specific on it yet, but I think the Lakers are preparing for Jared Vanderbilt to be out for the season now.
yeah, and he was playing great in that game against the Celtics. He even hit a couple 3-pointers, which was one was kind of like it might not be the Celtics night if Jared Vanderbilt's tossing in 3-pointers clean, threes. And it was just he stepped out on a steal. And my initial thought, because he stole the ball and then he did the whole he looked back thing, and that's very common
Yeah.
because players always say when an Achilles snaps you feel like somebody kicked you in the back of the heel. back there, and you kind of turn around and look back to see what happened. He did that, but they pretty early on they were like, it is a foot injury. Now, I even the rest of that night I was like, all right, foot injury, but sometimes that's foot, leg. We just call it that, and then we find out later. Since then, it has been confirmed. I think several places it's not the Achilles, but we still don't know what kind of foot injury this is. But yeah, nothing sounds good for him coming back this year, and that hurts. And it was interesting because I did see somebody suggest, well, maybe the Lakers are more inclined to trade him. It's not trade eligible. He has a trade restriction till after the trade deadline because of the extension he signed. So
Right.
that takes that off the table. He'll obviously be back with the Lakers at least to start the offseason portion of things with everything. But yeah, it's a tough loss for a guy who was, like you said, really starting to get back to the player the Lakers really fell in love with when they acquired him last year in the trade deadline deal.
Yeah, and they do have him on a long-term deal because they signed him that extension this past
Yep.
summer. But we'll see. And the rumor is right now the Lakers are looking for wings out there on the trade market. We'll see if they can get something done or not. Probably to replace Jared Vanderbilt. Speaking of a wing who's out there on the market, well, I mean, kind of a wing.
More of a
PJ
big,
Washington,
yeah.
big wing, kind of somewhere in between. PJ Washington is getting interest from the Clippers. I'd have to imagine PJ Washington is going to get interest from a number of teams, but the Clippers' interest in him is particularly noteworthy. Do you think they have the pieces to land him?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. The salary match obviously would be PJ Tucker. That would be
Yeah.
PJ Tucker goes to the Hornets, and then the Hornets probably immediately start buyout conversations with PJ Tucker, and that would be a two season buyout. Is what that would work out to be. 3 to 4
Oh,
weeks
there it
on
is.
Vanderbilt.
There's the breaking
Well,
news.
that's better news
That's
than
way better
yeah,
than
way
we
better
thought.
news.
Going
Yeah.
back to Jared Vanderbilt.
All right.
That's
So breaking news,
fantastic.
yeah, Shams Charania tweets. Well, he's sharing the Lakers' actual report is he has a right mid-foot sprain and will be reevaluated in approximately 3 to 4 weeks. So that's probably back to play in 5 or 6 if
Yeah.
everything goes
That's
okay. So
that's
that's
the
great.
best we could hope for
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
this
that's
point with
huge.
Jared Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Monster. So that's great. So disregard everything we said about 5 minutes ago. So you
Yeah,
just
I mean everything
Yep.
has sounded
Yep.
like, hey, this is not going to go well.
Yeah.
That's okay.
This is
Thank you,
why we
basketball
wait,
gods.
though, right? We want to
Yeah,
wait for this is why we were so cautious with the Embiid stuff of it could be this or it could be that or it could be this because we just don't know. And you got to wait until the team comes out and tells you. So yeah, so that's great news for the Lakers. So we'll zip on through the rest because I know you've got work to do now,
that
my
means
friend.
I've got work to do. Yep.
So all right, so PJ Washington, Clippers are known. They really kind of the only rotation hole they have is a backup power forward. They've got centers, they've got guards, they've got wings. It's really just one more for Kobe Brown, not really quite ready as the rookie. For whatever reason, they don't want it to be PJ Tucker. So PJ Washington becomes maybe somebody they could go get. He's got a really nice contract. This is the Clippers' last kind of chance to take on salary in trades because they're definitely going to be a second apron team next year, barring everything falls apart and James Harden and Paul George leave as
Mhm.
free agents. They're going to be very expensive and a second apron team. So this is to me, this is a really good kind of player to get because you could play him at the 4. He plays a lot as a small ball 5, especially right now with all of Charlotte's injuries. So this one makes a lot of sense. He should be higher on the list. Like if we're talking about Grant Williams, Bobby Portis, teams should be really like, hey, PJ Washington is somebody who should go get. He's had some big scoring games, including he had like 43 points like within the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks. Nobody noticed because it's the Hornets and they stink. So it is it's a thing. Have you seen too? We're now approaching almost the 2/3 mark of the season.
Uh-huh.
They have not won a single game by double digits yet this year.
They play my Lakers tonight, Keith. I'm
Well, maybe I
a-
just put it in the universe.
yeah, and the Lakers are the epitome of Jekyll and Hyde.
True.
So we will
Yeah.
see. But you're right. Yeah, they've lost their last 7 games. They currently have the worst point differential in the NBA by a pretty wide margin. They're a -12. The next lowest is a -9.7 in the
Yep.
entire league.
Yeah,
And
their
that's the
wins.
Pistons.
So yeah, I can go through their wins quickly because there's so few of them. They won by 6, by 1, by 7, by 3, by 3, by 1, by 3, by 7, and by 4, and by 3. So that's their 10 victories. None of them
Wow.
by more than 10 points. And that's never happened in NBA history. That a team, even the awful Bobcats teams and the awful Sixers process teams all won a game by 10 or more points. So,
So there you go,
yeah,
making progress,
yeah,
making progress right there. Making,
we'll
I
see.
should say, making history. That's
Yeah,
what the
making
Hornets are
history.
doing,
Yeah. Yeah, I
making
mean, hey,
history.
if you're going to be bad, you might as well be bad, right? I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get into this. The Nuggets are looking for backcourt depth, and maybe DeLon Wright might be an option. We've heard a lot about Tyus Jones, but DeLon Wright would make a lot of sense for a lot of teams. And I know he's battled some injuries,
Mhm.
but the Nuggets don't have a lot of tradable assets to use, so it would make sense to go after maybe a lower tier guard that they could go get if indeed they do want this backcourt depth.
Yeah, DeLon Wright is kind of it's been a miserable season for him with the
Mhm.
Wizards' second season. It's been a weird last few seasons for him. He didn't play a lot in Atlanta, and then he turned it. They basically tried to kind of turn him into almost a defensive specialist. Then he went to Washington last year, played a bigger role, played pretty well this year again. Just a weird Wizards team. They're clearly not going anywhere productive. They're trying to move into a different direction, playing younger options and the like. So, and as you said, he's had a lot of injuries. So, if you could snag him for the cheap, go get him and kind of go from there. The Nuggets' problem is going to be matching salary in
Mhm.
trades. They're you're talking about trading maybe a guy on a rookie contract, whether it be the first or second round, or maybe two or three of those guys. And they have to be careful of taking on money because they're hard capped at the second apron. They were the first team ever, and still currently the only team that's
Yeah.
hard capped at the second apron. And initially, if you go back and watch our summer shows, we talked about, well, Reggie Jackson was given the extra money and given the player option for next year because he gave up the right to block a trade. And our assumption was, well, yeah, he's probably going to get moved. He's been good for them and he's become a very key player. So I don't think he goes anywhere. So I get it to go for DeLon Wright. Just I wouldn't hold our breaths on this one just yet. I'm not sure that's going to be how it goes down.
All right, let's jump over to a team that has a lot going on. The Pistons.
Yeah.
Well, something's not going on. Like Bogdan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks. I'm sorry, Bojan Bogdanovic. I always mix up my
Yeah.
Bogdanoviches, the Bogdanovi. Bogdan Bogdanovic, Bojan Bogdanovic. I'll go back and forth all day here, Keith. Bojan Bogdanovic. They're
That's the
apparently
right
not going to
one.
move him. Not going to move Alec Burks either, and that makes no sense. But they've also got some other things that they're looking at doing. I know you had more details on that.
Yeah, the Bogdanovich Burks thing there continue to say we need good picks and solid players to come back. They really have no desire, especially with Bogdanovich. They seemingly don't have any interest in moving him because one of their thought processes here is we can use him next season. Like they have him under contract for next year. Burks is slightly different, but there's been a lot of buzz. They wouldn't mind re-signing him and bringing Alec Burks back. And neither one of them has played poorly, considering the Pistons stink. They've both been okay. But this feels like we're just hit rewind to last
Mm-hmm.
year of, hey, let's just keep these guys and just kind of keep things moving. So that's kind of the one part of it there. The other two things that came out is the Minnesota Timberwolves have some trade interest in Monte Morris. Okay, sure. Like that kind of makes some sense, right? Timberwolves
Yeah.
really need another stable guard. Tim Connolly drafted Monte Morris with the Nuggets, so there's a connection there. He talked when they traded him away. There was talk of like that was rough right on them to make that move there. So it's a guy I think he would like, and that would give them somebody who could come in behind Mike Conley and just keep things really stable and keep things moving. And then the other piece of Pistons news is they're still interested in Tobias Harris. Now, this was couched with they may not make a trade for Tobias Harris because there may not be a trade between them and the Sixers that makes sense. but they may look to use some of their cap space this summer on going to get Tobias Harris. I think the bigger takeaway is Pistons, just like they tried to do last year, sounds like they're good. They're serious about we're going to try to be a good team next year. We're going to try to pull a Rockets, get some guys in here who can help lift us up from being a bad team at the bottom of the lottery and at least start to push forward towards the playoffs. Berth, we'll see if that works or not for them, but it's definitely at least sounds like they're maybe moving in a direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll see if this time it works out for them and they're able to be a decent, close to playoff team for next season.
Insert the Arrested Development meme here.
It didn't. What was that? It didn't work for them.
It doesn't work for those people,
and they delude themselves into thinking it will. But maybe it'll work for us.
Maybe it'll work for us. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Speaking of the Rockets are shooting for the stars.
That's what Rockets do, right? As far as I understand, I'm by my space days are a little behind me, but I think that's what they do. But yeah, I mean, we kind of get this, right? They were in on Mikal Bridges. The reports are they offered a lot of stuff from Mikal Bridges. It was a lot of draft picks, including, hey, Nets, you want some of your picks back that you gave us in the James Harden trade, and you want Jalen Green, which that kind of makes sense. If you bring in Bridges, you still have Dylan Brooks. Jalen Green's going to get squeezed out. So if you could put him in there to plus up a trade offer, why not? But the Nets so far have held firm of, no, we're not really interested in that. We'd rather keep Bridges. But it's now been mentioned by, I think Jake Fisher mentioned it. Mm-hmm. Tim McMahon mentioned it. I don't know if anybody else has. I think Brian Windhorst might have mentioned it kind of more in passing. But if guys like Donovan Mitchell or Zion Williamson, or if, God forbid, Joel Embiid ever became available, the Rockets that's where they're thinking for their next big acquisition is let's try to go get somebody like that. Now, obviously, if you make a Bridges trade, you're probably not making a move like that because that's where your capital went out on. But just gives you a sense of the Rockets I think Tim McMahon keeps saying they're in like phase 2, which was like let's get some guys and be a better team. And then we don't want to stay here very long. And that adds to it. If you can go get some star level guys, go do it. So I think we're going to start to be in a position where we start here in Houston connected to a lot of these guys, which is kind of funny because that happened under Daryl Morey. They were always kind of connected to the next guy that they were going to go get. And they tried a handful of next guys, right? They had Dwight, they had CP, they had Russ. None of them worked out fully. CP probably worked out the best, right? They got close. And it's still one of the what ifs. What if they'd been healthy? Would they have beat that Warriors team?
Right.
What if they didn't have one of the absolute worst shooting performances ever in a game 7? What was it, 27 missed?
It was
threes
awful.
In a row or something like that. Like, would they have been there? So that's just always going to be something I think we'll always leave in the what if columns. Maybe Marvel will do an episode on what if they'd made a couple of those threes and let us know. But yeah, this doesn't really surprise me. I think Tillman Fertitta is done with I'm done with being a bad team. Like let's try to get this thing moving in a direction where we're good again.
I was thinking about that today because I actually used a Infinity War clip on my Dear Darwin series that I've been doing, the shorts over on YouTube and on X and everything. I used an Infinity War clip where Thanos is throwing Gamora into the pit. And I started thinking, like, the Marvel What If series, why have we not gotten, and this is totally unscheduled nonsense, but why have we not gotten what if Star-Lord wasn't an idiot and had, like, punched Thanos in the face? Like, do they take the Infinity Glove off, the Infinity Gauntlet off, and then that's it? The whole series is over? That's it? It's done. Like, what happens then? What would have happened in that instance? So, because that seemed like a pivotal moment too.
And if they would have had to like spin it to like one of them picks it up and like puts it on it, and I mean maybe like we don't want to turn one of them into a bad guy, but I don't know. They did the whole thing. What if Black Panther or T'Challa was Star-Lord, right?
Yeah.
That was one of them. So I don't know. Full disclosure, maybe makes me a bad Marvel fan. I've not watched any of the new season yet.
Okay. I've actually watched it, which is great. Usually you watch stuff before I do.
Yeah. those ones I see as almost like companions to the series. Like I've watched
Sure.
all of Echo now, and I enjoyed
Okay, I
Echo.
haven't watched that yet.
So like I liked it. I thought it was pretty good actually. You could see it was maybe not what was intended. Like you could tell it was chopped up and put back together in a lot of different ways because I think it got
Oh, really?
cut from so many episodes to so many, I think like 8 to 5 or whatever. And you
Hmm.
could see some of the sloppiness that was done there, but it was okay. I had no real issues with it. It was enjoyable for a quick 5 episode watch. It was like, something I think I watched over 2 days, but yeah,
Hmm.
I'll get into what
Okay,
if at some point. All Star break's coming. It's only a couple weeks away. That's probably
that's
when
right.
I'll tune in on that. So we'll see. But yeah, man, it's yeah, I'm curious to see if we get something here. I was talking to somebody today and they said Monday's kind of the last day of we need 2 first round picks. We'll
Yeah,
give you 2 second round picks. That's kind of the last day. Tuesday, it gets a little more serious. Wednesday, things really start to happen. And then Thursday morning, it's like, all right, are we doing this or are we not? Because
right.
we're up against it now. Because it's, we think in terms, because it's how the league thinks, and 3 p.m. Eastern is the trade deadline time. It's noon on the West Coast. And that means like, not that it's a big deal to be, hey, we got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning on
Yeah,
trade deadline day working. Of course they are, and they're
you're
up and
sleeping in your
going,
office
but
that day.
it's yeah, exactly. But it is a little more things go, and it these days tend to go. They get a little quiet right around lunchtime on the East Coast, and then things will pick up. But I think if there's always it feels like each year at the trade deadline, one move kind of slides in. Maybe that was really early, and that was the Adams Oladipo trade happened to
Hmm.
or that was our early deadline week move. But I don't know. We'll see. We might get something else here.
Well, fingers crossed. Hopefully we do. Hopefully do. Hopefully we get an exciting trade deadline and it surprises us. But again, everybody, before we get out of here, go check out our Substack basketball bulletin, putting the link in the description down below. So make sure you guys give that a look for us if you want to support us and you want to get some extra content there, some great reading. At least I think it's going to be great anyway. Go check that out. Don't forget, subscribe right here to the YouTube channel as well. And of course, over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks again, everybody. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.